The breakfast rush always felt like a storm at Maple and Vine Diner. Noisy, chaotic, and just slightly soul-crushing. Between sizzling bacon, clattering plates, and demanding customers who acted like royalty, Elena had grown numb to the routine. It was her third year working there. Same morning shift, same minimum wage, same tired smiles. She wasn't dreaming big anymore. Dreams, she learned, didn't pay rent. At 26, Elena had a quiet toughness about her, the kind built by working doubles, skipping meals to stretch groceries, and pretending every tip mattered more than it should. She'd mastered the art of hiding frustration behind a smile. Even when some suit barked about the eggs being too runny, or when a kid spilled chocolate milk for the third time in a row, Elena smiled, nodded, and cleaned it up like it didn't chip away at her. That morning, though, there was something different in the air. A man sat at table 6, the booth by the window, alone. He wore a simple gray hoodie, jeans, and an old pair of sneakers. Nothing flashy, nothing to suggest he was anything more than a broke guy ordering the cheapest breakfast combo. But Elena noticed things most people didn't. His eyes, for one, sharp, calculating, like they were watching more than the menu. He barely looked at his food, just observed, quietly, calmly. "Another coffee, sir?" she asked, balancing a tray of empty plates. He smiled up at her. "Yes, please, and could I ask how long you've worked here?" She blinked. Odd question. Customers rarely asked anything about her that wasn't personal in a creepy way. "About 3 years," she replied, cautiously, pouring the coffee. "Started right after my mom passed. Needed something steady." He nodded, not asking anything further. Just sipped. She left his table, but she kept watching. Over the next week, he came back. Every single morning. Sat in the same spot. Same hoodie, same order. Always polite, always observant. By the 4th day, even the cook, Jimmy, noticed. "Creepy coffee guy again?" "He's harmless," Elena replied, though she wasn't so sure. On Friday, she found a small envelope tucked beneath his empty coffee cup. No tip, just the envelope. Inside, a folded note. "Meet me after your shift, back alley. Please, it's important. L." Her stomach flipped. She almost threw it away. Almost told Jimmy to come with her, or maybe even called the cops. But something held her back. Curiosity, maybe? Or exhaustion? Or that strange gut feeling that this wasn't about danger. It was about change. After her shift ended at 4 p.m., Elena tied up her apron, grabbed her hoodie, and slipped through the side exit into the alley behind the diner. The man was already there, hands in his pockets, leaning against the brick wall like he belonged in a spy movie. "Thanks for coming," he said. "I'm Logan, but not the Logan you think you've met." She raised an eyebrow. "Okay, what is this? Some kind of prank?" "No, it's something I've never done before. I'm the owner of the diner chain, the CEO of Maple and Vine Group." Elena blinked. Her mind instantly rejected it. The guy in the hoodie? CEO? She laughed, then stopped when she saw he wasn't joking. "You're what?" "I've been going undercover at some of our branches," Logan continued, "trying to get a real sense of what's going on at the ground level. Not reports, not filtered data, just the truth." Elena crossed her arms. "You've been spying on us?" "I prefer to call it investigating," he replied calmly. "And what I've seen here, it's not pretty." He pulled a folded document from his jacket and handed it to her. "This is an internal report. Your branch manager has been stealing wages, clocking out employees early, cutting corners, even pocketing part of your tips." Her throat went dry. She didn't want to believe it, but deep down, she wasn't shocked. Things never quite added up. Her paychecks always felt light, but she chalked it up to bad hours or system glitches. "I'm shutting this branch down temporarily," Logan said. "But before I do, I need your help. I want you to stay on, not as a waitress, as my eyes inside. Just for a few weeks. Keep doing what you do, but report to me directly." Elena stared at him, the alley spinning slightly. This couldn't be real. A CEO asking her to work undercover? "And if I say no?" He smiled, but there was no pressure in it. "Then I'll thank you for the best service I've had in months and walk away. No hard feelings."
But if she said yes, something told her everything might change. Elena didn't sleep that night. She tossed and turned, replaying Logan's words over and over. Clocking employees out early, pocketing tips, wage theft. It all started to make sense. The random disappearances from her paycheck, the times her hours didn't match what she remembered, the smug way their branch manager, Dale, walked around like he owned every crumb in that diner. By morning, her decision was made. She slipped back into her uniform, tied her apron like always, but something in her had shifted. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. Not today. Not with what she knew. Logan had given her a direct number. Text only. Burnable phone, he'd said. She'd laughed when he handed it to her. "This feels like I'm joining the CIA," she joked. He just smiled. The diner opened at 6 a.m. sharp. Dale was already there, leaning against the counter like a bored king on a greasy throne. He gave her his usual fake cheerful grin. "Morning, sunshine. You're 5 minutes early. Don't want me to dock that now, do you?" Elena smiled back, but this time it was different. Wouldn't dream of it. She noticed things more sharply now. Dale watching the cameras more than he watched customers. The quiet way he slid tips off the counter when no one was looking. How he talked to Maria, the new girl, like she owed him something. That power trip tone, that sleazy charm. By noon, Elena had already jotted a few notes and texts to Logan. He changed the time clock again. Sandra's hours just got slashed. Dale asked the dishwasher for a $10 cleaning fee. That's not a thing, right? He took my whole table's tip and told me they paid with card. I checked. They left cash. It felt strange being part of something bigger, like she was finally pushing back against all the quiet abuse she'd put up with for years. She wasn't just enduring anymore. She was watching, learning, collecting truth like ammo.
At 2:45 p.m., Dale called her into the office. The room smelt like stale coffee and fake power. Dale sat behind the desk, hands folded like he was about to deliver a sermon. "Listen, Elena," he started, "you've been working hard lately. I see that." She narrowed her eyes slightly. Compliments from him were like sugar on spoiled meat. "I wanted to offer you something special," he said, sliding a folded paper toward her. "It's a bonus, cash, off the books." Elena didn't touch it. "And why would I get a bonus?" she asked, careful with her tone. He grinned. "Because you're smart, and I need smart people around. People who know how to keep quiet when things get messy." So this was it. A bribe. A dirty, greasy bribe. She looked at the envelope, then back at him. "Thanks, Dale," she said smoothly. "I'll think about it." She took the envelope, walked straight to the back, and snapped a photo. Sent it to Logan, added, "He's trying to pay me off, no doubt now. He knows I've noticed something." Logan replied almost instantly, "You're doing great. I've seen enough. One more day, then we act." That night, Logan met her again, this time in a rented car down the block. "He's not just stealing from you," Logan said, voice low. "He's cooking the books, reporting less income to the main office, pocketing the difference. If corporate ever audits this branch, it's going to explode." Elena's stomach turned. "And you're letting him run the place?" Logan shook his head. "Not after tomorrow." He handed her a manila folder. "Inside's a temporary transfer order. Starting next week, you'll be assistant manager at one of our pilot locations. Full pay, benefits, corporate track." She stared at it, then at him. "Why me?" "Because I've seen you," Logan said. "You kept your head down, kept showing up, even when you were being robbed blind. But the second I gave you a chance to fight back, you didn't hesitate." Elena swallowed hard. "So, tomorrow, what happens to Dale?" Logan's eyes darkened. "He gets exactly what he deserves." The next morning came with the kind of silence that hinted at an approaching storm. Elena arrived 15 minutes early, dressed like usual, but with a knot of steel in her stomach. Her hands didn't shake this time. She wasn't scared. Not anymore. She knew today would be Dale's last day.
Logan hadn't shared exactly what would happen, just that he would handle it personally. She was told to act like nothing was different. Smile, serve, and watch. At 8:20 a.m., the first sign came through the door. A man in a navy blazer walked in. Not a local. He had that crisp corporate sharpness, clean shoes, smooth gait, and eyes that scanned the place like they already owned it. Behind him came a second man, holding a small black case and a tablet. They sat at table 6, Logan's usual. Elena approached with a soft smile. "Coffee, gentlemen?" "Please," the first man said without looking at the menu. "Is Dale in today?" Elena nodded. "He should be in the back." He gave a single nod. "Good. Tell him Charles from HQ is here. And don't worry, we're not here for you." She froze slightly, heart skipping. So this was it. Logan wasn't bluffing. She walked straight to the back and found Dale by the fridge, yelling at the line cook over a missing carton of eggs. "There's a rep from HQ at table 6, she said calmly. Dale's face dropped. His eyes darted around like a man suddenly aware of every lie he ever told. HQ, did they say what it's about?" She shrugged. Didn't sound friendly. He wiped his hands on a towel, smoothed his shirt, and walked out with fake confidence dripping off him like cheap cologne. Elena followed behind, staying close enough to listen. "Charles," Dale said, shaking the man's hand too eagerly, "what brings you all the way down here?" Charles didn't return the smile. "Routine audit, Mr. Halverson, but we've received some concerning tips, anonymous reports. Thought we'd take a look." The color drained from Dale's face. "We'd like to start with the books," the other man said, opening the tablet. "Payroll logs, time card entries, tip reporting sheets, the works." Dale stuttered. I wasn't told about any of this in advance. I'll have to dig them up." "Take your time," Charles replied coldly. "We'll wait." Elena returned to work, pretending to refill coffees and wipe tables, but the diner buzzed like a live wire. The regulars started whispering. The line cook made the sign of the cross behind the counter. Everyone knew something was happening. An hour passed, then 2. By noon, Dale was sweating bullets, running back and forth between his office and the front, his usual swagger replaced by a jittery panic. Elena caught a glimpse of one screen. Numbers didn't match. Huge gaps in reporting. Timesheets missing entries. Tips reported at half the actual amounts. Then, at 12:47, Logan walked through the door. Not the hoodie-wearing customer anymore. This time, he was in a dark gray suit, clean-shaven, calm as ever. He didn't look like a customer now. He looked like Judgment Day. Dale froze mid-step. "You," he said, voice cracking. "You're—" Logan didn't even flinch. "CEO. Yes, surprise." Elena watched from behind the counter, heart pounding. The entire diner fell into stunned silence. Logan looked around. "Nice place. Shame about the management." Dale turned red, then white. This is entrapment. You sent her after me." He pointed at Elena, who just raised an eyebrow. Logan stepped closer. "I didn't need anyone to trap you, Dale. You did that yourself. Stealing wages, doctoring timesheets, pocketing tips? You've been robbing these people blind for years." Dale's voice rose. "You don't have proof." Charles stood up. "We do. Enough for legal action." Logan nodded. "Your contract's terminated effective immediately. You'll be escorted out in 5 minutes. Security's on the way. You can explain the rest to legal counsel." Dale's jaw opened, then closed. He looked around, desperate for support, but no one moved. Not one employee, not even the dishwasher. As he stumbled into the back, muttering curses under his breath, Logan turned to Elena. "You okay?" She nodded. "I am now." He handed her another folder. "Your transfer's active. New branch, new role. Start date's next Monday." She blinked. "That's it? I just go?" He smiled. "No, you rise." The employees clapped, quietly at first, then louder. Elena stood there, overwhelmed, a strange lump in her throat. For the first time in years, she felt seen. The first day at the new branch felt like stepping into another world. The Maple and Vine uptown location was everything her old place wasn't: bright, clean, organized. The walls weren't stained yellow from years of grease. The staff wore matching polos and headsets. There was a manager's office with actual walls, not a folding table in the back room. Most shocking of all, people actually looked happy. Elena stood in front of the door for 5 full seconds before stepping in. She was no longer a waitress here. She was assistant manager. The title didn't feel real yet. It felt like borrowed clothes. Still, she walked in with her head high, even though her hands trembled a little behind her back. "Morning," called a young woman from behind the counter, flashing a smile that wasn't forced. "You must be Elena, right? We heard about you." "Yeah," she smiled nervously. "That's me. Jamie's in the office. Go on in. We're all excited to have someone from Corporate Rescue Squad," the woman said with a wink. Corporate Rescue Squad. Cute. Inside the office, Jamie, the branch manager, stood up to greet her. Tall, well-dressed, and sharp-eyed, Jamie offered a firm handshake. "Logan told me you'd be coming," she said, "and that you've seen more in 3 years than some people do in a decade." Elena laughed nervously. "That's one way to put it." "I'm not gonna lie to you," Jamie continued. "Most folks who come in at your level have degrees, certifications, all that shiny stuff. You've got survival skills, the grit. Logan trusts you, so I do too. But some of the staff might test you." "Why?" Elena asked, already guessing the answer. "Because you didn't come from a boardroom. You came from a dirty apron. Some folks hate that. Makes them nervous. Think it means you'll see their cracks." Elena nodded. She was used to being underestimated. It had never stopped her before. By the end of the first day, Elena had learned the ropes fast. Ordering schedules, delivery systems, customer issue logs. Even the digital time clock system looked like a spaceship compared to what she'd used before. But there were cracks here too, just neater ones. The night shift lead, Shay, a sleek, sarcastic woman in her early 30s, didn't seem impressed. "So, you're the waitress-turned-corporate hero?" she said over break, lighting a cigarette just outside the back door. "Logan must be on some redemption project." Elena kept her voice calm. "Or maybe he just finally promoted someone who knows what the bottom actually feels like." Shay smirked. "We'll see how long you last." That night, as Elena locked up, she found a note taped to her locker. "Don't trust everyone, especially not Jamie. People smile when they have something to hide." No name, no handwriting she recognized. Her stomach dropped a little. Was it a joke, a warning, or the start of something deeper? She sent a photo of the note to Logan. "Weird vibe already. You trust Jamie?" The reply came an hour later. "Trust her enough, but keep your eyes open. This location's clean, but not perfect. That's why I sent you." Elena sat down on the locker bench, the note still in her hand. It didn't scare her, but it reminded her. Just because she'd left Dale behind didn't mean she'd escaped dirty power. If anything, she'd just leveled up into a more dangerous game. At closing, she checked the till again. The register was short by $38. Not a big deal on paper, but Elena knew better. That wasn't a mistake. That was someone testing her. And whoever it was, they clearly didn't know who they were playing with now. The next morning, Elena arrived an hour earlier than scheduled. She didn't need to. Technically, she had people for that now. But something about that missing $38 clawed at her mind. It wasn't the money, it was the message. This wasn't an accident. Someone wanted to see what she would do. She checked the drawer logs again. Nothing stood out at first. The till was reset properly, receipts matched, and the daily report looked clean. But one thing bugged her. Shay had been on closing, yet the log was signed off by someone else. Tessa, the cashier. Strange. Normally, closing supervisors signed off the shift. Why would Tessa, who worked the front counter, be doing it instead? She didn't confront anyone right away. She just watched.
By mid-afternoon, she started noticing patterns. Tessa had a habit of lingering after her shift. Shay, too. They often went into the back office together under the pretense of checking the freezer logs. But the freezer didn't need two people, and definitely not for 10 minutes at a time. At 3:17 p.m. she caught it. The camera in the dry storage room wasn't working. She pulled up the footage log on the office computer. It showed gaps, random 5 to 10-minute blackouts, every third or fourth night, always around closing, always when Shay was on duty. Elena texted Logan again. "Camera in dry storage keeps glitching. Too convenient. Someone's messing with the feed." His reply came fast. "That branch had inventory issues last year. Keep watching. Don't act yet." So she didn't act. Not publicly. But that night she did something bold. She brought her old prepaid phone, the burner Logan gave her during the undercover phase, and quietly tucked it in a corner of the dry storage, aimed at the doorway. She used an app to stream the footage to her laptop at home. No one knew about it but her. The next night she watched from her small apartment, sipping cold tea in the dark. At 10:42 p.m. the camera feed glitched, the official one at the branch. But her burner phone, it stayed on. Shay entered the frame first, looking around nervously. Then came Tessa, holding what looked like a small tote bag. They crouched behind the shelf. Elena couldn't see what they were doing exactly, but she saw enough. A few boxes of high-end ingredients went into the bag. Coffee syrups, vacuum-packed steaks, some branded supplies. They weren't stealing cash. They were stealing product. That explained the missing inventory reports. That explained the mystery shortages. And it definitely explained the camera tampering. Elena's heart raced, not out of fear, but out of anger. She'd just gotten this promotion. She'd just escaped a cesspool. And now she was standing in another mess. Just fancier, better hidden. The next morning she printed out 3 still images from the burner camera. Tessa crouching. Shay holding the door open. She placed them in a plain folder, no label, no names. Then she left the folder on Jamie's desk before she arrived. An hour later, Jamie called her in. The air was thick. Jamie didn't speak for the first 30 seconds. Just stared at the photos. Then she looked up at Elena, her face unreadable. "Where'd you get these?" "I set up a camera," Elena said simply. "Didn't trust the official feed." Jamie let out a slow breath. "You realize if this is true, you just exposed a scheme that's been running under my nose. For months?" Elena nodded. "That's why you needed me, right?" Jamie looked at her long and hard, then nodded once. "Give me 2 days. This needs to go up the chain. Quietly." Elena stood to leave, but Jamie stopped her. "You're good," she said. "Too good for someone who used to carry plates for a living." Elena smiled, but there was no pride in it yet. Just focus. "They've been stealing from your house," she said. "I don't take that lightly." But what Elena didn't know yet, what Jamie hadn't said, was that someone even higher up had been letting it happen, and they weren't about to lose their little empire to a former waitress.
By the next morning, Shay and Tessa were gone. Jamie called a sudden meeting before the store opened. Her tone was firm, professional, almost cold. "Effective immediately, Shay and Tessa are no longer with us," she said. "Any questions can be directed to corporate. For now, we focus on keeping this place running right. Clear?" No one said a word, but Elena could feel the tension hanging in the room like smoke. Everyone was thinking the same thing. What just happened? Some glanced at Elena. A few even glared. She knew the whispers had started. The new girl got people fired. She's working with the higher-ups. She's a rat. Elena didn't care, not really. She'd done what she was supposed to do. But what she didn't expect was the coldness from Jamie. No thank you, no good job, just silence. Even Logan's texts had gone quiet. Not a word since she sent him the evidence. That's when the unease started. By midweek, Elena noticed things were off. She came in to find her schedule changed. Shorter hours, late shifts instead of opens. One of the senior cashiers accidentally logged her out of the system, causing a 30-minute delay on payroll. Her locker was found open one morning, her personal notes missing. Someone even jammed gum in her headset. It was all subtle, small things, but she recognized the signs. She wasn't just being frozen out, she was being pushed out. That night she called Logan. No answer. She tried again the next day. Still nothing. She even emailed, something she never did before. "Hey, things are getting weird here. Jamie's different. I think someone above her was protecting Shay and Tessa. I need to know if this is deeper than I thought." No reply. It wasn't like him. He'd always been fast, decisive, honest. But now, silence. So she went digging. Elena knew her way around a system. On her day off, she accessed the internal portal using her assistant manager credentials. Restricted, but with enough backdoor views to see some of the chain's movements. One thing caught her eye. 6 months ago, an internal memo had passed through corporate HR about sensitive employee protection regarding Shay Whitman, the same Shay she just got fired. The memo was signed by a name Elena hadn't heard before, Tobias Redman, Senior Operations Director. She clicked deeper. Redman had flagged Shay and Tessa months ago, not for termination, but for retention. There was a note about protecting valuable operational relationships at the Uptown branch. Elena stared at the screen. Protecting them from what? Her heart started thudding in her chest. It wasn't just Jamie who'd known. Someone above her had been shielding these two, which meant Shay and Tessa weren't freelancing. They were part of a protected system, possibly even part of a cut. And now that Elena had ripped out 2 threads from that system, someone up there wanted her gone. That night, she sat in her car in the parking lot long after her shift ended, engine off, staring at her phone. She typed another message to Logan. "Tobias Redman protected Shay. There's more here. If you're ignoring me, just say it. But if something's wrong, if you're in this too, tell me now." Her hands trembled as she hovered over send. But before she could hit it, her phone buzzed. A new message. Not from Logan. Unknown number. "Stop digging. You don't want to end up like the last girl who tried." She froze. Cold sweat ran down her spine. What last girl? She opened her car door, heart pounding, and checked her mirrors. Nothing. No one. But someone knew she was close. Someone was watching, and they were done playing nice. She didn't sleep that night. Elena sat on the edge of her bed, the phone still in her hand, staring at the anonymous message like it could blink back. Stop digging. The words were simple, but the intent behind them was sharp, unmistakable. This wasn't just workplace tension anymore. It was a warning. She stared out her window, half expecting a shadow to move or headlights to flash. Nothing happened, but that didn't calm her. If anything, the silence made it worse. The next morning, Logan still hadn't replied. Elena considered skipping her shift, lying low for a few days, maybe quitting altogether. But then she remembered something her mother used to say. You don't run from fire when you know where the water is. And Elena knew. She knew exactly where the fire was coming from. She arrived at the Uptown branch 2 hours early, this time not for work, but for war. She didn't clock in. She didn't put on her headset. She went straight to the back office and printed out everything she had. Copies of the old memo from Tobias Redman, photos of the inventory theft, the gaps in the security footage, everything. She even printed the anonymous message. Then she made 3 folders. One for HR, one for Logan, and one for herself. When Jamie walked in just before 7, coffee in hand, she paused mid-step at the sight of Elena waiting inside the office. "Problem?" Jamie asked carefully. "You tell me," Elena replied, voice firm. She slid the folder across the desk. Jamie opened it slowly, her expression unreadable. She flipped through the pages. Her eyes paused on the memo from Tobias Redman. For a second, her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but then, just as quickly, she shut them. "I warned you, didn't I?" Jamie said finally, closing the folder. "This place isn't what it looks like. You want the truth? Fine, but you better be ready for what comes with it." "I've been ready," Elena said, "since the day Dale stole my tips and made me smile like it didn't matter." Jamie sighed, then leaned in, voice lowered. "Shay and Tessa were never mine. They were Redmond's pets. He planted people like them in multiple branches, quietly siphoning inventory, playing with the numbers, bribing low-level managers to stay silent. If you make enough noise, he'll bury you." Elena's stomach twisted. "Then why did you let me take them down?" "Because I'm tired too," Jamie whispered. "But I've got kids, a mortgage. I can't afford to do what you're doing." Elena stared at her. "So what now? We just pretend none of this happened?" "No," Jamie said, handing the folder back. "Now you go straight to Logan, in person, face to face. If he won't talk to you anymore, make him." "But what if he's in on it?" Jamie shook her head. "If he was, you'd be gone already." That made Elena pause. She nodded slowly, then left the office. Her shift didn't matter today. None of it did. She went straight home, changed into jeans and a plain black hoodie, and took the folder marked Logan. It felt like carrying explosives. Logan's HQ office was 45 minutes away on the edge of the city. Glass building, top floor, name on the door. When she arrived at reception, the woman at the desk smiled politely. "I'm here to see Logan Harper," Elena said. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Elena replied, "but tell him Elena Quinn is here. He'll know." The receptionist hesitated, made a quick call, and then nodded. Elevators unlocked, top floor. Elena stepped in, the folder held tight to her chest like armor. The elevator climbed slowly, and with each ding of a passing floor, her heartbeat pounded louder. When the doors opened, Logan was already waiting. Gone was the hoodie, the diner regular. He stood in a tailored black suit, hands in his pockets, eyes heavy. He didn't smile. "Elena," he said, "I was hoping you'd come. I sent messages. You didn't answer." "I know," he said, "because I couldn't say anything over the phone. They're watching my line too." She raised the folder. "I know about Redmond. I know about Shay. I know this goes deeper than theft." Logan nodded slowly. "Elena," he said quietly, "you just stepped into a war I've been trying to fight from the inside for 3 years."
Elena stood frozen at the threshold of Logan's office, that final sentence hanging in the air like a live wire. "A war I've been trying to fight from the inside for 3 years." She stepped in slowly, setting the folder on his desk. "Then, why didn't you tell me?" Logan let out a bitter laugh and walked toward the window, looking out over the skyline like the weight of the city was on his shoulders. "Because every time I've tried to fight him, someone else gets buried. Redmond isn't just stealing money. He's built a loyalty network inside this company. He's got people in finance, HR, even compliance. People who owe him, people afraid to speak." Elena folded her arms. "I'm not afraid." He turned. To her, his eyes tired but sharp. "I know. That's why I gave you the job. You weren't supposed to uncover all of it this fast, though. You moved like fire. You sent me to that branch knowing it was compromised?" "I suspected, but I had no proof. I needed someone who didn't scare easy. Someone Redmond's. People would underestimate. You were supposed to blend in, not torch their whole operation in 3 weeks. So what now?" she asked. "You let this keep going?" He shook his head. "No. I've been building a file. Evidence, statements, internal memos. Your folder filled the last gap." He opened a locked drawer and pulled out a thick binder. It was stuffed with documents, photos, emails, the kind of thing that didn't just cost people jobs, it ended careers. "This is going to the board," Logan said. "Tomorrow, and I want you with me." Elena blinked. "Why me?" "Because no one will believe this unless it comes from someone at the bottom. Someone who lived it." She hesitated. Her entire life had been small, quiet. She wasn't trained for boardrooms, microphones, lawyers, but she was trained to survive. "I'll do it," she said. The next morning came like Judgment Day. They walked into the conference room together. It was long and sleek, filled with serious faces and sharp suits. Tobias Redmond sat near the end, cool as ice, not even flinching when Logan entered. "This is Elena Quinn," Logan said to the board. "She's here as a witness to present evidence of theft, corruption, and internal cover-ups committed under the protection of Tobias Redmond." The room shifted. Elena stepped forward, opened the folder, and laid out every page with steady hands. Photos of stolen inventory, security footage, timestamps, the memo bearing Redmond's name, and finally, the anonymous threat sent to her phone. For a second, Redmond smirked. "This is nonsense," he said smoothly. "The word of a waitress against 20 years of service?" "She's not just a waitress," Logan snapped. "She's the only reason your little empire is crashing down." One of the board members, a gray-haired woman in a dark burgundy blazer, leaned forward. "We'll verify this, of course. If even half of it checks out, this company will burn." Redmond laughed. "You think some diner girl's going to bring me down?" Elena looked him dead in the eye. "No," she said. "Your greed did that. I'm just holding the match." And with that, it was done. By the end of the week, Redmond was suspended, pending a full investigation. Jamie was quietly offered a transfer out of reach from retaliation. Shay and Tessa vanished into the ether, and the Uptown branch was placed under temporary audit. But Elena? Elena was promoted. Corporate announced a new internal ethics role, designed to root out fraud, corruption, and wage theft across all branches. They offered her the position. She took it without blinking. Her title now read, Director of Operations Integrity, from waitress to whistleblower, from invisible to undeniable. One Friday evening, as the sun set behind the city skyline, Logan met her at a rooftop cafe. He raised his glass to her. "You changed everything," he said. She smiled. "No," she replied. "You just finally gave someone at the bottom a chance to fight back." And she did.